Hello, I hope you're doing well. This is my journaling vlog for my recent trip to London. I was attending the MisoPaper pop-up event. I had a few of my products being sold at the pop-up, but I was mainly there to teach some workshops. It was a 3-day event with 2 workshops per day, so 6 total. I was a little bit nervous about this trip because it would have been my first international trip in quite a while, and also I've never been to the continent of Europe before. The last time I mentioned this, a lot of people DM'd me and said that like the UK is not part of the EU, etc. I think most people understand what I mean. I've just never been to that area of the world. But anyways, just to preface, I had an amazing time. Everyone from the people at the event to just like random strangers in the city, they have been so nice, and I just left with a really good impression, and I definitely want to be back one day just to explore. Okay, so I actually had a red-eye flight and I left on Wednesday evening, so actually most of my Wednesday was pretty normal. After coming back from my run, I worked on the workshop outline a little bit more, but you will see later in the video that this page really got like marked up towards the end of the workshops because I just learned more things along the way and made little tweaks to the workshops. And then again, most of Wednesday was pretty normal. I just replied to emails and did some shipping stuff. I still need to finish packing. Got a bunch of coffee crisp chocolates for Barbara and the other workshop hosts as well. And then I have a bunch of washi, vinyls, stickers. These are stamps. These are Tombow markers for the workshop, temporary tattoos, and little cards. Okay, so I am supposed to leave in about 2.5 hours, but I'm just getting some last minute work done. This is for the June pre-order, which I technically finished, but I'm just going back in to do a bunch of revisions. I think I'm going to call this one either Mail is Here or Happy Mail is Here. And currently it is a very light tan beige background. Yesterday I had a sudden idea to use a craft paper texture background, so I looked for a bunch of different craft paper patterns, and I am gonna see which one fits this, or I will just go with this light tan if the craft paper doesn't work out. I'm currently in between this one and this one. I cleared out most of my fridge, so this is gonna be a very interesting meal. I realized that to some people, this might look really unappetizing, but I was able to use up all of my groceries, which is great. Many of you probably know this by now, but I am chronically early to the airport. I usually arrive around 4 hours early. This time I was actually only about 3 hours early, I would say, because right before I was about to order my Uber, I got a series of nosebleeds and I just could not get it to stop. I know it's a little bit gross, but that's what happened. I just did some work at the airport, and then my flight was a red-eye flight, so it was like overnight. Overall, it was okay. I also got some work done and I slept a little bit. My issue was it was extremely cold, and I think my lips were like purple by the end, but other than that, it was okay. Okay, I made it to my hotel room. We have a nice city view, a cute little bed, bathroom, and I'm guessing that's a closet. I did something very stupid. I bought a travel adapter for Europe, and I didn't realize that the UK had a different plug. I did a Google search and apparently Sainsbury's has an adapter. So I'm gonna quickly walk there because my phone is at 70%, which I know sounds okay, but my anxiety cannot handle anything below 80. So let's hope I can figure this out.
We don't need as many of those. Oh, those are mine. Yeah.
Because I ran into issues with the eSIM as well as my power adapter, I arrived at the venue much later than I wanted to, and I ended up with just like 2-ish hours to help set up. Those are Abby's preparations. So cute. It is currently 4:50 and I'm supposed to leave here at 6:30, so I'm gonna try to get as much done as possible. We have Tombows over here. These are a bunch of Energel Clenas, and then we have a part of the Leuchtturm notebooks. I was also supposed to include a Leuchtturm notebook and pen loop with every goodie bag. You can see that I have a few of them here, but unfortunately, like half, maybe more than half of the shipment has been stuck in UK customs since April 25th. So literally over a month. It's actually still stuck in customs right now. So yeah, I think over half of the goodie bags were missing the notebooks and pen loops. So we just included a note as a last minute thing, and we're gonna ship it out whenever it clears customs. It is almost 6:30 and I have to leave now. There is still a lot left to do. It is almost currently 7:30. I haven't eaten all day because I have been rushing to prepare for the workshop. Water. Honestly, I was very rushed because I've never been to M&S before. It was a lot to take in, and I think it was like when everybody was getting off work, so it was super packed and I didn't want to be in anybody's way. So anyways, perfectly ripe plums. This is a super green salad. I know that this is kind of sad as my first meal in London, but I am so tired and I have like 50 emails that I need to respond to. So I just want to chill out, eat my food, and get some work done. So yes, I ate my grocery store meal. I replied to all of the emails that I missed while I was on my flight. And I also put together more of the workshop goodie bags so that the next day I wouldn't be as rushed. Oh, I guess I will also talk a little bit about, okay, I don't know if you can call this a scam. I think it's just me being stupid. But when I got off my flight, I guess I just give off a very anxious energy. And I suppose somebody clocked it, and who I thought was a lovely gentleman, offered to help me take me to the train station. Again, I know I was being stupid and I didn't want to like back out of a situation and say no, so I followed him, which I probably should not have done. Thankfully, he just wanted some money at the end. I'm just glad it wasn't anything worse than that. Yes, I need to work on saying no, even to strangers who probably want to scam me. For some reason, I have a very hard time just backing out of situations. So yes, just as a little warning to everyone else, you probably have better common sense than me, but I guess just be careful. For the rest of the night, I just caught up in my journal, and I basically just wrote about all of the unfortunate things that happened during my trip. On the sidebar, I originally meant to write down the flight info, but I didn't really like how I drew the box, so what I ended up doing was covering the flight info box with the actual plane tickets, which I thought ended up looking really cool. So currently the return flight is still the ugly box, but eventually I'm going to cover it up. This is my day one outfit. The earliest that I can go to the venue is 8 o'clock, and I plan to go at 8. In the meantime, I found a cafe that opens at 7:30. It is called Knockbox Coffee. So I'm gonna go there. It'll be my first like official London spot, because I feel like the food that I bought at M&S yesterday, it was good, but I feel like it doesn't count as my first official meal at London. Anyways, in the meantime, I'm gonna do some journaling and also reply to some emails. I am so behind on emails, and obviously there is a time difference, so I have a lot of things to address from when I was asleep. Alright, my first coffee outing in London was Knockbox Coffee. I meant to do a really nice journaling session, but I actually forgot to bring all of my pens, so I ended up just doing some emails. I then made my way to the venue, and I actually stopped by another coffee shop along the way. So my schedule for these few days was basically arrive at the venue at around 8, prepare for the workshops until 12, teach the workshops from 12 to 2, another set of workshops from 4:30 to 6:30. And then in between the workshops, I would usually prepare for the next workshop, while also whenever I get the chance, I would reply to emails or walk around the venue to say hi to everyone who couldn't make it to the workshops, but you know, they just wanted to shop around. For dinner, I had Farmer J, and it was really, really good. So much so that I had it as my last meal in London as well. This is something that I started doing whenever I travel and I receive a bunch of gifts, which thank you so much again. It is never ever expected. You guys pay money for my workshops and my products, and it is literally my job to do the best I can and deliver, so please never feel the need to bring gifts, but it always just makes my day. Thank you so much, especially handmade things like this. So cute. Anyways, what I wanted to show is that just for the sake of saving space and transporting everything back to Vancouver, I usually have to separate all of the gifts and my cards so that I can properly fit it in my suitcase. So something that I started doing is on the cards that I receive, usually the person will sign it with their name, and on the envelope I write down what they gifted. So this way, if the gifts and cards separate, I know exactly who gave what and I can thank people properly. A little recap of the workshops. I wasn't too happy with my overall performance. I know a lot of people are gonna say I'm too hard on myself, etc., but it's not even subjective. Like, objectively, I had tech issues with the projector. Abby and I had staggered workshops, so it was Abby's workshop, mine, Abby's, mine. And I think my only feedback about this event, which I'm very close with Barbara, so I'm not afraid to say things like this. This is also the first event, so it's very hard to, you know, think of these things. But my only feedback is that we didn't have enough time in between the workshops. So we had 15 minutes and it wasn't enough time for the previous class to clean up and shuffle out of the classroom, and for the next class to, you know, prepare each of the seats with the goodie bags and worksheets and stuff like that. So between the tech issues with the projector and the timing issues, I was very stressed, and I think I just stuttered a lot and said a lot of weird things, but hopefully nobody really noticed. Also, a big shout out to Abby and her friend Grace, because for a few of the workshops, they lended me their projector, which was a lifesaver. My hotel room smells like sardines because I ate sardines yesterday. I'm a little bit embarrassed. Anyways, I got 3 hours of sleep yesterday, which is not great. We are gonna go get some coffee. I know this is kind of boring. I'm gonna go to Pret. I don't think we have Pret in Canada, or at least where I live, so I am very, very excited. So while I'm reflecting on all of these journaling vlogs, I realize that in most of my trips, I kind of hyperfixate on a single cafe. Like for example, in Chicago, I quote-unquote discovered Intelligentsia, and I just like went back there every single day. Apparently for this trip, my fixation was Pret, because I think I went back to Pret like 4 or 5 times across this trip. In my defense though, I noticed that a lot of cafes don't really open until 8 in the morning, and I needed to have a place to work at around 6:30 or 7, and Pret was one of the few places that were open, so that's part of the reason why. But anyways, I got a coffee and a banana, which ended up sitting in the bottom of my tote bag the entire day, and it got really mushy by the end of the day. But yeah, I got some journaling done and responded to emails as usual. I didn't take as much footage of day 2 and 3 because it was largely the same as day 1, and just being honest, when I'm filming I tend to be slower at what I do, so I just really wanted to focus on getting my job done. I just got back to the hotel, but I'm gonna head back out right away to pick up some dinner. I think I might go to Sainsbury's or M&S. I don't know if they're open, and pick up something. In this clip, you can see the mushy banana that I was talking about. I did end up eating it though. I guess here, I will just say, I know all of the food that I've eaten so far has been relatively boring and like not something that you would eat on a vacation. And that is because, at least for the first few days of this trip, I didn't really view this as a vacation. The goal for these few days was to just conduct the best workshops that I could and put my best self forward for everyone who is attending. And I just really do not want the possibility of like getting an upset stomach or feeling sluggish after a heavy meal affect my performance. I know it sounds a little bit over the top, but that really was my mindset throughout this thing. And also you will notice this probably in my other like event videos. I tend to eat like very on routine, similar to what I would eat at home during the few days where I am meeting customers or teaching workshops. However, after that is over, I do eat more outside of my comfort zone and more local cuisine. So later in the video, you will see that I did end up eating some more fun foods. I guess I just don't want any like locals thinking that I wasn't interested in exploring local cuisine. I was really locked in the first few days on ensuring that I was doing my best with the workshops. Good morning. It is the last day of the workshops and pop-ups. Going with a very simple outfit today. I hear that it is a bank holiday today. I'm meeting up with a friend for coffee in between my workshops, and I am also meeting up with a friend for dinner. Again, this morning I went to Pret to do some journaling and emails. I also last minute decided to add some extra content to the workshops. So I did a little bit more research and reading into whatever I was talking about, so I knew that I wasn't talking out of my butt. For dinner, I decided to go with the classic fish and chips, which came with a side of mushy peas. And I think out of everything that I've tried, mushy peas is my new favorite food. So if you have a good recipe for mushy peas, please let me know. Hello, it is currently 9:50 p.m. and I just got back from my little outing with Chloe. We went to the Ivy for the classic British Icons dinner. And then we also went to take some photos. And then on our way back, we passed by Buns from Home. Of course, we kept the sticker. This is gonna go in my journal later. And I got a classic cinnamon bun. So yeah, tomorrow is my last full day in London. I leave Wednesday morning, so tomorrow I'm gonna hit up as many places as possible. I am meeting up with a friend for a little coffee and journaling session, which I'm really excited about. But for tonight, I'm gonna clean up my hotel a little bit. I have so many emails and notifications to catch up on, and I also want to make kind of like a to-do list, or like a list of priorities for when I get back to Vancouver. Being away for like 6 days doesn't sound like a lot, but I am very behind on work now, so I am going to just put a plan together so I know what to tackle first. But yeah, oh my gosh, I got so many gifts again today. Thank you everyone so much. I think I already said this maybe yesterday. I never ever expect gifts. This is, I mean, it sounds a little bit blunt, but this is my job. So in that sense, I'm just doing my job. At the same time though, there is that personal connection, and I truly appreciate everyone. So yes, that is it for today. I am going to get to work, get cleaning, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully for some touristy London stuff. Good morning. I am just about to head to, I believe it is called a Rome bakery. Today is supposed to be like my free exploring day. However, I am a little bit tired, so I'm just gonna get to as many spots as I can. If I'm not able to get around to something, then that's just an excuse for me to come back to the UK some other time. So again, this was my free exploring day, and in the morning and early afternoon I hung out with Bronte. She is from the UK, and I was so glad that we could actually sit down and talk and journal and spend some time together outside of the rush of meeting at stationary events. We had amazing pastries. We went to a bookstore called Foyles. I got a book for myself and also a book for my nephew. There was also a cafe at Foyles, so we went there. We went to Linden Graphics, Choosing Keeping. I think at 12 or 1 p.m. we parted ways. So I definitely made a rookie mistake, and I forgot to check the weather and I forgot to bring the umbrella, but it wasn't too bad. I got 2 books, one for me. I thought these covers were so pretty. And then I also got a little picture book for my nephew. It's like a peekaboo book. At London Graphics, I only got this mechanical pencil. This is a 0.9mm lead, and I also got some to be 0.9mm lead. I didn't get anything from Choosing Keeping because everything was beautiful. I know I don't need anything at the moment, and my suitcase is already very heavy as is. So I'm gonna rest a little bit, dry off, reply to some emails, and then I'm gonna head back out to the British Museum, and then I'm also going to go to the Twinings factory and the Big Ben. I think it's supposed to rain all afternoon and evening, but that's okay. I actually don't mind the rain as long as I don't have like books and my planner to worry about. So this video ends very awkwardly. This was me at yet another cafe after my Twinings trip. So I actually dropped everything back home and I went for a run to the Big Ben. I also had Farmer J again for dinner, and I spent basically the evening just packing things up. The next day I went to Pret in the morning again, and then after I got to the airport I had Pret again for lunch/dinner. Anyways, I didn't record all of that just because I wanted to enjoy my last few moments in London, and I just didn't want to deal with the stress of filming while trying to get everything packed up. There were a few hiccups along the way, but this was overall just such an amazing trip, and I would say 99% of it is because of the people. I cannot get over how welcoming everyone has been, and it was so nice meeting everyone. I think in my brain it was just always impossible for me to meet my customers from the UK or from Europe, and the fact that I actually got to meet some of my longtime customers from the UK or from Europe, it just kind of broke my brain a little bit, and it meant a lot to me. So thank you so much, and of course thank you to Barbara and the MisoPaper team for putting all of this together. I hope this becomes an annual thing because I had a lot of fun. So I will stop yapping. Thank you so much again, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Take care.